Hey guys, this is Grant Coombs III coming back to you for another video from CardRunners.com. In this video, we're actually just going to be reviewing a bunch of the hands that gave me difficulty while I was out in Vegas. So let's jump into it. Really standard call for me with a recreational player in the big blind. I'm going to call with any of my sets. And it's a really standard lead for me here too as well. I think it's nice to mix it up with a recreational player there that's never going to be folding even like a straight draw probably, or it's not going to be folding any good ace highs. So I want to throw more money in there. And at the same time, I think that the c-better is actually going to be c-betting a lot less because of the fact that the recreational player is in the big blind. So I think it's a nice spot to lead here. And I think while it is somewhat obvious that I'm probably never going to be doing this with complete air, if the villain and I have been playing with the recreational player for the same amount of time, I also think it's a spot where he's never going to be folding top pair for at least two straights. So it's good to get money in there. And the idea of just forcing money in the middle with the recreational player, I think far outweighs the mystery of what I potentially have here. Additionally, I think I'm a creative enough player that I can also do this with King Jack to name my own price with King Jack on the flop and the turn, or Jack 9. Or I can do this with like bad Queen X's that I wanted to play with the recreational player that I can still get at least one street of value with like Queen 9, Ace 10, those sort of hands. So a lot of good reasons and balanced reasons to do it. Not my favorite card on the turn because I will have King Jack here occasionally. Additionally, when the villain just calls, he has King Jack in his range 100% of the time. With that said, I think he's going to raise King Jack a decent amount of the time. And I also think that he's never going to fold a queen on the turn. So I still have to bet the turn. River's a 10 here, and I think this is a really critical spot. I think in the past I probably went for a few too many check raises in this spot. And I thought that, looking back on it, I think that check raising actually will get good players to fold King Jack. And that's a really big mistake. Additionally, I think that I have a lot of Queen 10 and 6s in my range. So therefore, if I bet really huge, this is a spot where I think I'm going to have a very hard time getting called by Queen X. And I'm forcing him to have King Jack and 10X. Which, while possible, I don't know how many 10Xs he even has. And King Jack's certainly possible, but because he didn't raise me on the turn, it's less likely. So I actually went for the smaller bet size again. I actually think that a few people would probably could convince themselves that I have something weird here because this is not necessarily something they're used to. They played with me for a while. And I think the smaller bet size has induced quite a lot of things recently. And this is interesting in that, I mean, it's important, one, I think the villain did a good job of knowing that the smaller bet meant something. Now, I'm not sure that he understood that the smaller bet could mean one of three things as opposed to one of two things. One, it could be very thin value, potentially, which I am capable of doing. So I could have something like King Queen. I don't think King Queen is yet out of the question. I think it's unlikely, but once we get heads up in a spot like this, I think a lot of players go into check call mode too quickly, and I really don't. So there is a possibility that I can have the best, that Ace Queen is the best hand. I'm not sure he really thought about that possibility in regards to me having a one pair hand. I think that he knows that my small bet could mean that I have something trashy like Jack 9, in which a raise would obviously work. And I also think that he thinks King Jack makes a lot of sense in my range as well. With that said, just understanding that my small bet size means something, I don't think that I think he made by far the wrong decision. I think that folding is an infinitely better spot here than shoving. And I think he sorted out the fact that it meant something, like I said, but I don't think that he threw it to its logical conclusion. Or some people simply, I mean, I was like this for a while, is that some people are certainly hesitant to call down lightly with one pair. and are much happier not making that really tough river decision as opposed to just shoving and saying, okay, this solves a lot of my problems. So if I was in his shoes, I think a fold is much better. Um, is much better than a raise, and I think a call is somewhere in between those. Probably a call is maybe just a little bit worse than a fold, but I'm not sure. I just don't think I have a ton of bluffs, but knowing me, I still can have king queen occasionally, and I can still have jack nine some of the time here as well.